When I turned video on, your audio started breaking up, so I still don't have the bandwidth.
Let me mute and then try it out, Mike.
So you guys can still hear me. Video. I'm not sure what's going on because your audio shouldn't have had any effect when I'm uploading, but I have a very weird system. Anyway, I'm probably gonna.
I caught the tail end. We caught the tail end of that. But no, it's functioning and it works, and everybody's here. That's what it matters, because that's what HighFive stand-ups are for. Here we go. So, good evening, everyone. It is July 20th, 2017. Chris Wallace and William Newing at the Linwood Wikispeed currently. We just finished up our Bellevue College build for 2 days worth. It was truly epic, amazing, fun, disastrous, and funny in some parts. Did we have some blocks? Yes, we did. Did we address most of them? I'd say so. I'd say so. There was a few more. There's some more feedback, not just from the forums, but also on our backlog that the rest of the students have pulled together. We still also need to fully unpack, upload some of our videos to our YouTube channel. So that is some of our items that still needs to be done. And I believe I need to connect with Lauren during Crosstalk for more of the 501c3 paperwork. So that is on our agenda, and currently that was blocked slightly because I was not available. Who would like to go next?
This is Lauren. I can go next.
Okay.
Lauren Salter, Gabriel Island. And past week I was fairly intensely reviewing kind of post signature, or anyway, just reviewing little bits and finer points of the application, and working with William to get it printed and sent, and verifying one point with Joe, which he answered today. No problem. And also I've been reading about Git and Tortoise Git, which is the user interface for Windows. So that's what I did this weekend. Probably the more of the same over the next week. We're really close to sending an application. That's it for me. Oh, blocks. Usual blocks. Dealing with red tape here. Canadian government red tape, as well as doing the thing with the IRS. So that's me for this week.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Appreciate that. And who would like to?
I don't see Bruce going for it, so I guess I'll go. I got the two Polaris EVs running, or moving, I guess. There's still lots of bad noises, squeaks from the brakes, sizzles is what I'm going to describe it. The sizzles appear to come from really corroded connections. Power, so I have some stuff to take apart. But it is very good news. The breakthrough was removing all of the extra stuff that was added with the lithium battery pack conversion, and just going back to the stuff that was originally supplied with Polaris EVs. So that once I disconnected all the extra stuff, things started working. And the lithium pouch cells that I was working on from one of the packs all appear to be usable. They're not in the greatest of shape, but they are a whole lot better than nothing. And I've started the process of I broke it before I got that far. And I'm still in one of these weeks to get that open for the electrical, and I seem to be avoiding it. So now the
We're losing you, Michael.
I guess I'll go. Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Michael's going on mute.
We got
Okay.
we got pieces of that.
This is Bruce Connor, Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Pretty good week. I did get the NISA finite element analysis software license, and I've got it up and it's running. I have been trying to actually figure out how to use it, and it's pretty obvious I am not a mechanical engineer. So the videos, I see them doing things and I'm like, I see what you did, but I don't know why you chose to do that now. So I think I'm going to need some guidance on that from somebody who knows this stuff better than I do. And Joe did mention that he's done some of it, so I think I'll reach out to him. I was doing some training. I was helping out with a training this week, so I had virtually no time. And I'm actually going to be in Boston at Scrum Inc. doing the Scrum at Scale class next week. So if anybody's out there, say hi. Let's see, for next week, yeah, just more of the same. I think we're gonna try and get the software figured out, and maybe get my chops up on that. And still working on my garage stuff. Haven't had any motion on that at all. Didn't really have time to follow up on that. So that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you, Bruce, and excellent. Congrats. And I believe that leaves you left, Chris.
Awesome. So at the beginning of the week, I think that was at the beginning of this sprint, we ran across some issues on the website with the database, and were able to get that worked out. We also created a test site to be able to test changes before they get put into the production site. And then after that, I of course came to the Linwood shop to finish up the preparation for the Bellevue College build. We did the Bellevue College build, which was super amazingly awesome. And if I started listing up what we were doing, I'll be here for hours for that build. So we'll just call that the one item. As I really want to say that's maybe covers everything that I did this sprint. Next sprint, we're going to start diving heavily into making some changes on the website, and start testing some different plugins and themes to get past some issues that we've run into. And as far as blocks go, I don't think I have any. I think they were all completely smashed this week. So that wraps it up for me.
Thank you very much, Chris. That wraps up our stand-up, which moves us on to our retrospective. And rating yourself 1 through 10 of how happy you are in your role, and rating the team 1 through 10 of how happy you think the team is. And of course, do provide a process improvement if you have one. I'll kick us off. 1 through 10, I rate myself a 9. I like to give 900, but I'm going to leave a little room for improvement because there was some things that I had mentioned and we just didn't do, such as triple checking the tools manifest in box, but we did come through about that. But then again, if we did that, we wouldn't have to have that possible impediment. Um, a couple of other technical debts I think we had foreseen, but we just didn't get to address them or even put them on a backlog, make them visible. We were thinking like that, just put them in our head, not the Scrum way. We could also, I think, when we retroed it a little bit more, we could really Scrum better in Team Wikispeed, despite being remote located in various places. So I say for the team, also a 9. I think we can do better. We know better. Let's do it. I challenge ourselves. I think so. Process improvement, yes. That's pick one of the items of the Scrum framework and apply that. Whether it be a review, whether it be a burn down, would be a good one, an automated burn down, a sprint planning, any of that type. It'd always be better if it was paired, at least with any of 2 of the Team Wikispeed members. That is my process improvement. Let's continue on with the previous sequence of folks. Sequence is probably not the right word, but I'm going to go with it. I think, Lauren, you are next.
Yeah, I'll give myself, it's because I was able to really carry on. And yeah, so an 8, and the team at 10, and I don't have a process improvement. I don't have a process improvement at the moment.
Thank you, Lauren. Michael, I believe.
We're good. Can everybody hear me? I see. No, that's good. My headset apparently needed charging. Anyway,
Yes?
they don't run fast, but they are running. So that is a huge step. But getting them running was a big step. 9.5 for the team. Things are rolling along good. You guys did an awesome job on Bellevue. I still have a couple of videos that I'm expecting you to post. So, and I do not have a process improvement for this week, and that's about it for me.
I'm going to give myself a 9 this week because I got everything done that I expected to get done. I knew it was going to be kind of a tight week, so that's good. I'm happy with the progress on it. I'm really glad that we got the NISA folks on board and they at least got 1 license to us. I'd like to ask them for a second one so I could pair with somebody a little more easily, but maybe that's something I need to do next week. I can chase them down. For the team, I'm going to give you guys a 10 this week because I thought the Bellevue stuff was just awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing more about how that went and kind of the retro on that and all that. But yeah, really good job.
And Bruce, did you have a process improvement? If not, it's okay. I just wanted to.
I do not have one.
Okay. And Michael, to reiterate, what were your points? I think I heard you say 10 for the team, or was it a 9? My apologies.
9.5 for the team, 10 for me, which is the second week in a row, which is very rare, as you'll know.
I say it's an improvement. You're giving yourself the more accurate values, where we're seeing and reading those emails of how much you've been trying to accomplish. I'm like, yes, that is great, and you start accomplishing. They're like, you absolutely need to give yourself this credibility and points. You got to increase that morale. So very good. There's only one process improvement. Thank you all. I appreciate the win by default. It's not what I was expecting or intending, but excellent. So, as we're picking Scrum tenets and or any of the 353 that we're going to be recounting and hashing and making sure that we are doing, let's start with a burn down. How was that, folks?
Sounds good.
And my apologies, I skipped another person. Chris, would you please go?
Totally fine. And actually, my suggestion was going to be to use a burn down chart, so that worked out just fine. As far as my retrospective goes, my happiness in my role is definitely a 10. Getting to be in the Linwood shop and do some real scrum is always just super awesome. And I'm actually going to go with a 10 for the team too, because I got to pair with William and talk about the ability to be agile. I mean, we knocked so much stuff out in the last few days, and I think provided some real value for the people who attended the Bellevue build. So yes, definitely a 10 and 10 for me. I would go higher, but I mean, I figure I don't want to mess up our averages here that William is tracking as we speak. But yeah, so my suggestion would also be to use a burn down chart. I do want to add that I had totally forgotten, but I just saw that our last week's process improvement was to read something from Scrum related, in this case from the Agile Manifesto. So I'm actually going to do that right now. So one of the principles of the Agile Manifesto says that we welcome changing requirements even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. And that wraps it up for me.
Thank you very much, Chris. Which one was that again?
The second one.
The second one? Welcoming even late in development. That is a hard one for me. Even late in the game, welcoming changing requirements. However, I think we had to. As far as the build goes, we had to change what the requirements were, meaning we could not build further because we were limited by what tools we had. So more into that later in the crosstalk. I think that wraps up our retrospect. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we have an average of 9.2 for everybody and a 9.7 for the average. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an all-time high for our average personals. It just increased. I love it. And we will put it in the improvement experiment. Excellent. Is there anyone that would like to read a Agile Manifesto? I think we can plan for that. Chris, okay.
I'll take it if no one else wants to.
All right, that wraps up our retrospective. Moving forward to our crosstalk. Lauren, I know you and I have something to discuss. Do we want to address that first or towards the end if anyone has anything pressing to address?
I'm going to say towards the end.
Okay.
Because maybe we'll do it tomorrow or whatever, but depends on how much stamina you got after this week.
Okay. Thank you. Everyone's been wanting to know how the build went and what the retrospective was. Chris, do you want to kick us off, or I can kick us off on that aspect? A little more sharing about how our Bellevue College build went.
Well, it went great. So William had mentioned that one thing that we maybe should have done was triple check our tool sets before we went. So I think that the students were very engaged. They were very, very willing to learn and dive right in and get everything done. And basically everyone in this group, well, at least on the first day, had never really heard of, not familiar with Wikispeed. And we gave them a brief rundown of what Scrum was, a brief rundown of what Wikispeed's about, and they dove right in, and it pretty much looked just like a normal build in a training class. They were somewhat limited by some lacking of tools for what they were trying to do. We took feedback, and then me and William came back and basically knocked out those blocks that they ran into. So this particular build, the students were not required to attend both days. It was optional if they wanted to attend one or the other. but I would say I believe at least half of the people, maybe even more, opted to go ahead and come back for the second day, and then we're very pleased, I think, with the addition of tools and the ability to really knock out what they were trying to do. Um, and there were also more people, more students available the next day. About halfway through the build, we integrated an English as a second language class of 10 students into the existing teams, and it really went, I would say, fairly seamless. So overall, just an amazing experience. Did you have anything to add on that, William?
Yes, absolutely. Initially on the day two, there were about a little bit more than half of the students from the first day, right? And then when halfway through the new students that joined, that's where it was actually, the overall amount of new students that were just either walk through or from word of mouth. That's where we had more of that, those new students. From the first day, we didn't have enough tools. There was enough shading. It was really hot. Tools were hot, and then enough backlog items to do. And so we addressed those issues. We make sure, triple checked, and brought the tools and even scrap metals and items for the next day. And then we moved the awning to actually cover the car, which will make one of the time-lapse videos. And then I will send out also a link for the photos, which are in raw format, but they're pretty big, of all the ones that we took. And hopefully the other photos that other students were taking, we'd be able to share some of those as well. It'd be great. And then 4, we actually stopped by the grocery store and picked up some like ice cream bars and treats to actually share with the students during the end of the first sprint, which was awesome. I think it was just a good little treat item for them to figure out. So there's this little math problem: how many bars should you all account for, and then ask for it if we can make sure that everyone's needs were met. And they worked out. It did. People were happy. They were cooled down, and I think by the end of the second, there was a team that was pleading to finish their task, even though the sprint was over. Like, can we just finish, please? It was that enthusiastic, and it was probably very much one of the highlights of that build. I've never been on a college build on that before, and we were doing all of that as pro bono, as for marketing, and also for really giving back to the college students who've been gracious and generous to actually come and intern for us and work for free for months and quarters on end. So it was a great way to get more exposure, but also to give back to the students who haven't been able to make it up here to the language shop.
And also, William became an expert at backing up a trailer in the last 2 days.
Apparently, yes. Those skills have been honed.
Some of the spots that he had to get that trailer into were amazing.
Oh, I hated it last year when I had to take the trailer out to the raceway. So I was like, wait, I gotta drive this? Oh, but now I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna like it, but I'll do it. And just go slow, and it's not a rush. And Chris, thank you for blocking traffic a couple times because we needed it. Any of those who's been to the language shop knows that the main street out there, 44th Avenue, we got in around 5 or 6 p.m. It was that's traffic hour, and it was packed. But for some reason, we were able to find a gap, get into it, and then we needed some traffic to be done. It took a couple tries, but we backed it out. One thing that happened that we did not anticipate was the steering tie rods on the front. They broke when we're loading it up into the trailer.
So my first attempt, I would say opportunity to actually drive a working Wikispeed car. I had go and I had stop, but I did not have the ability to steer. So William was actually officially suspension version 36. Yeah, despite what you may see later, William is actually suspension number 36 because he was able to turn the wheels and guide me in.
But it was short-lived. It was just one day only. Yeah.
I have a question for you about the college students. I mean, you mentioned earlier that, they were kind of naive to the exposure to Scrum and things like that. Now, did you see any of the same kind of resistance to the ideas that you normally see when you go into, say, a company and, they have ways of working and, you usually sense a certain kind of class of fears that you just typically see. Now, were they more open to it, or did you kind of get a sense that they were still kind of trying to process it a lot like people who are, more used to waterfall world?
Absolutely.
So I would say that there was almost no resistance to the concepts. They seemed very open to the ideas. Um, the so basically we explained Scrum in 5 minutes or less using the 3-5-3 concept. So 3 roles, 5 events, 3 artifacts. The only thing is I was the one that gave that portion of the presentation. I think I could have done a better job if I had set expectations and let them know how long I was going to be talking, because it was hot out there, and about 3/4 of the way through my little spiel, I realized they were getting a little shifty, and they're like, "Is this another class I have to sit through? Is this a lecture?"
Yeah.
But once I wrapped it up, no, they were not resistant to the ideas at all.
Okay.
They really
Do you
jumped right in.
do you think they kind of got the I don't know, understood the power of it, as opposed to doing things in a waterfall way? Before they experienced it, were they able to kind of grok that? I mean, usually, I mean, the whole point of it is a hands-on experience, of course, because then you get the people saying, "Oh, please let us finish our sprint," which is that's an awesome story.
Right. So I don't think that they were familiar with waterfall either necessarily. So this was sort of like a project-based learning.
Okay.
I don't think they were. I don't think that's one reason they weren't necessarily resistant to it. I don't think that they fully got the concept until we started building, and then we were available to answer questions and kind of show how this works. And we tried to facilitate it with that. Now we're going to do a retrospective. We explain what that means. We had each team have a product owner and a scrum master, and what those roles mean, and everybody had their own backlog. So we really tried to give a short, brief microcosm of what Scrum really is. And
Okay.
I think many of them, the feedback we got was that they were actually really happy with that. It seemed like they seemed interested in it, and it seemed to me anyway that they thought it worked very well.
Cool. Yeah.
We ruined
I
it for
mean,
them.
I sort of ran headlong into the the usual coaching thing this week, and I was puzzling about it and saying to myself, is this something that is, we spend a lot of our time undoing what people have learned, versus are people just naturally, not quite wired this way until you sort of kick them over the threshold of it. And it sounds like there's a lot of unlearning, and it's just one more data point for that for me, which is interesting. Just one of the reasons why I'm doing this with you guys is because this is a somewhat different way of doing agile than I'm accustomed to. It's got the hardware aspect, and you're going out and you're getting to audiences that are special like this, which really makes it good for me. I wish I'd been there. If it weren't 3,500 miles, I would have been.
However, we may be able to actually replicate that over there in Boston.
Oh, yeah, if you can come out to Boston, that would be really good. I would love that.
Right? I mean, you could talk to any one of the universities there. I don't know how open they are, what criteria they would need. I know there's a closer car there. We could talk to Rob, see how much that would cost to bring it in, and then bring as much to the shop there. I mean, we did a lot of this pro bono just to gain that type of a marketing sense and to really instill it into the college students. And I think once we get our federal 501c3 status, perhaps that may be some incentive financially for folks with cars, or even just folks who want to actually dive more into the Team Wikispeed consulting that we are actually starting to hash through and requesting and asking for to help out and participate in some of the backlog items on this aspect. I think there is an opportunity here. I think Chris and we had discussed last night, among various other things, is that a lot of these builds could also be more of a team workshop, team building exercise. Thank you. That was the word.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure most of the students didn't know each other coming in, and for them it's a team building. We're getting together more often. That would be a great thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, look into that. I don't know if MIT is where you want to go, or whether you want to go someplace that's more vocational. Do you have any sort of sense of that?
I don't. However, I think if MIT does it, then Harvard may likely be, right in there too, behind,
Yeah.
because of the business school, Harvard Business School. They've been doing the studies on the happiness matrix, and so
Ah,
that would be huge.
that'd be a good
Um,
tie-in.
Yeah, I know they've done a lot of those case studies with Joe Justice on there at John Deere as well. So for any of the manufacturing, yes, it would be kind of a hardware and science to see if we can find some paradigm with MIT, even Sloan Business School as well at MIT.
Sure.
I don't know who to talk to quite yet, but I think if there's some connections to be made and references to be looked up, that would help. Um, we could at least start on some of those paths and go from there. And it doesn't have to be saying we have to try to figure it out this year. But if we can start working on some of those items, then who knows? Maybe we'd be able to do or plan some of that. If not this year, then perhaps early next year, weather permitting.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. Anything else, gentlemen? Oh, yes, and to iterate, after the new students joined in, the team started growing from 4 people actually to, I want to say, about 6 or 7, if not some of them I think may even have 8 members in there. And some of the feedback was, oh, too many people standing around. I was like, yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, interesting.
Right. When team sizes increased, they noticed that there wasn't enough tasks to do. Like there was one person holding another part, another person cutting, the other person vacuuming. There's your team of 4 right there. Then you have 2 or 3 people. Okay, what do you want them to do? Make sure we're doing the right things. I mean, traditionally, that's probably what's happening in waterfall.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about that is we didn't even cover at all about why, maybe even that it is that way, but why Scrum teams should remain small. But on the feedback teams, they told us, and they told us exactly the right answer, because now it's hard. Communication becomes more difficult. Like you said, there's inefficiency in the workflow. I think 7 actually was the max team. So it was 6 and 7 is what it turned
6 and 7,
into.
okay.
Right. But yeah, so they noticed some of the pitfalls of having larger teams immediately without even being told to them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the best way to teach them is when they've got this gut sense, and you can just amplify on that and say, yeah, that's an actual thing.
Very fantastic. It was just really a humbling experience. Alrighty, gentlemen. Anything else? We've still got time. We're only about 6:37 in. We did a great job, even when we started a little late. My apologies, as the interim Scrum Master. All right. Well, that wraps up our retrospect and crosstalk. Excuse me. That wraps up our crosstalk, and we will be posting. I will be posting the videos and photos online with a link to share on email as well as our Slack. And that's it, folks. Have a good night.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
William?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you want to talk now or do you want to stay tomorrow?
Good question. Let me stop the video first.
Yeah.